Here in the Mojave Desert, animals have had millions of years to adapt. But the lizard, he's going to die.
Whatever you do,
Don't look me in the eye.
stay out of my peripheral vision.
What do we do now, Sheriff?
We ride.
Is this heaven?
If it were, we'd be eating Pop-Tarts with Kim Novak.
Yeah.
Our new sheriff has been playing the hero for so long, he's actually starting to believe it. Call in Rattlesnake Jake.
If I ever see you again, I will take your soul straight down to hell.
It only takes one bullet. You ain't got the nerve. Try me.
I got involved with Rango pretty early on in the process. I was on the show for 2 years overall, so I came on just around asset development time. We spent about a year building all of the characters and the town of dirt and all of those things, and then we got into shot production where we actually did the lighting and rendering of the shots. We had about 75 main characters that could be seen close up and needed to do dialogue and say things. And then we had another, say, 50 background characters, so we had this huge number of characters that we had to develop. Everything in the film is keyframe animated by our animators. There's no motion capture in the film at all. There was a discussion about whether or not we should use motion capture for the show, and we just really came to the decision that that it just wasn't the feel of the film.
Victor, you were right. I have been undefined.
There's a look in the eyes of each character. There's the desperation in the characters, and part of that was what they were really trying to see. Could we take these and really develop this in 3D? And keep some of that essence of the character there.
They usually had a backstory associated with the characters so that we really knew what the character was about and why they were in the town of dirt, and not just that they were, put there because we needed some color in the background or something. They actually had a purpose. They had been living in the town of dirt for a while. So after Crash would give us this artwork that we'd look at, and they're so expressive, they got so much character, then it would go over to our modeling department, Jeff Campbell. He and his modelers would look at those, and they would actually build a maquette.
And normally the process, you would have some kind of physical maquette, maybe made of clay. We didn't have the time or budget to really do that, and we had to find a way to quickly go from 2D artwork to 3 dimensions in 3 days. We called it a 3-day maquette. Really like sculpting. It'd be like sculpting in porcelain or sculpting in clay or something like that, but we're doing it digitally. I think the first time that Gore saw some of these, he said, well, great, let's put these in the movie, but these are not models prepared to articulate or to move in any way. They're just placeholders.
The maquette process was really important to us to actually find the character, but find the character from all different angles, so that we were sure that it was going to work, you know, for the film, be able to turn around and walk away and it didn't look weird from behind or something like that.
So for us, it's really important to be able to kind of key in on what Crash had designed there, in terms of maybe it's that corners of the mouth turned down or something in the brow that's, you know, really stressed. And so we would look for those little details and try and keep some of that in the model, in that model that's going to be given to the animators, and then they would start animating and breathing life into the character.
One of the main things we did with the characters, if you look at them, is that they're all asymmetric. So if you look at somebody's head, it's not the same on the left side and the right side. People aren't like that, but a lot of the times in the computer when we build characters, we build them symmetrical because it's half the work. You build the right side and then you copy it over to the left side. We didn't do that on Rango. We really needed to make sure that the sides of the characters were different. You know, just that asymmetry alone gives you a lot of organic feel. Rango is the most obvious case of that, where his head's actually a trapezoid. It's just not the same from side to side.
There was a tension that was built into his face, so that, you know, you have one eye much larger than the other, and even the jaw is kind of offset. He's standing behind a whole fabricated story about who he is, and that at any moment this could all come apart.
Who are you?
Help! Help! Open the door!
When we started out the film, you know, a lot of us didn't really know much about making an animated feature, so we kind of came at it from the standpoint of making a live-action film. I think it makes sense for ILM and for Gore 2 to kind of take that approach, because we come from a live-action background, and what we know best is how to really look at an image and try to make it look as much like photography as possible.
Surprisingly hospitable. I stand corrected.
So we came up with this process of bringing all the actors in together, having them act out their scenes together with costumes and props, and we filmed that whole thing. We did all the recording over about a 20-day period on a stage at Universal, and we shot everything with high-def cameras while we were recording the sound.
We call this improvisation.
You came back. What was that? What was wrong with that?
It was I'm choking.
And that process was dubbed emotion capture, which a lot of people have asked about. What is emotion capture? And emotion capture was really just a jokey name that was dubbed, you know, come up with for this audio recording process.
As long as that sign says sheriff, you can believe that there's law and order in this town. But without law and order, ruminate on that.
Well, since most of us had live action backgrounds, you know, we're going back to our comfort zone. You know, we're not trying to create an animated look. We're kind of working in a way that we're used to working on live action pictures. So a lot of our instincts about what our realistic interior exterior exposure splits, what realistic fill ratios should be on character. We weren't worried about, in an interior scene, letting windows blow out, because that's what realistically you would get. At first, when we started on the picture, the thought was that the most important thing was going to be the detail in the characters in the foreground. That was really evident in the original designs, that they really needed a high level of detail in them. But it's an expensive look to do. And we thought that we couldn't really afford to do that everywhere, that the important thing was that we'd get the characters in the immediate surroundings with that level of detail, and that pretty quickly we could fall off to much sketchier, simpler things in the background. But something that became evident as soon as we started trying to put final images together was really that level of detail didn't look right if it wasn't everywhere. And so suddenly, you know, everything, the entire environment, the background all the way to the horizon had to have that same level of detail. And that had to be present in all the effects as well.
We put in lens flares, we put in dirt on the lens, we put in even the atmospherics in the show. Pretty much every shot has something moving in it, you know, like dirt or dust blowing through. And really it's all there to just try to make it feel like we could have gone out and shot this thing. Like we happened to find a derelict town out in the desert, and we went and shot it there. At one point during the show, I actually went out to a desert because I never really I didn't really grow up in a desert. I grew up in Hawaii, so I didn't really know what that felt like or what that even looked like. So I went out to Death Valley and took some photographs of, of the desert. And it's really telling when you do that and you see somebody out in a desert, like how much light is actually coming from the ground and bouncing into them, and kind of what the sky looks like. And it's those references that we used for the film that really helped us to get to the final look that we got.
Sing of his courage in magnificent song. The bed close up